You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.
All right, welcome back to The Social Workers. My name is Eric Hardiman, and I'm here with my regular co-host, Alyssa Lotmore. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Hey, Eric.
So there's just some technical microphone difficulties here. I think we're going to be okay, though. So what do we have lined up today, Alyssa?
We have an exciting guest. Lenize is here today. She is a visiting scholar from Brazil, and she's touring all college radio stations, as many as she can here in New York, and maybe even beyond, to bring some of her findings back to Brazil as she's working on her dissertation on the cultural and history of college radio. So we're really excited for this.
So Lenize Cardoso is also a graduate student in journalism in Brazil at Mackenzie University, which is in Sao Paolo, yes, Brazil, and is a visiting scholar in, I believe, the English department here at the University at Albany.
Here at SUNY.
So we like to welcome international visitors whenever we get them, and so it's very exciting to have you here with us today. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Eric, Elisa. For me, it's really an honor to be here with you today.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're doing something on college radio, because I find college radio to be such a value. It helps give students a voice while they're on campus, helps to reach a large audience, prospective students, the community, and college radio is something I think is a value to all universities. So the fact that you're doing your dissertation on it is really, I'm really happy that you're bringing more attention to this and wanting to bring your findings here, what you see in the U.S., back to Brazil, so you can enhance and improve and make positive changes to the college radio there.
Yeah, I'm a former radio journalist in Brazil. I love everything that involves radio. That's why I'm studying now about college radio station. And for me, it was a surprise that I was one of the first ones to study here as a dissertation about college radio stations. I thought when I would come here, I would find a lot of you guys, a lot of books, a lot of articles, essays about this, but I couldn't. So I was a little surprised about this. On the other hand, I'm very excited because I think mine is going to be something.
Yeah.
Once you don't have that much.
So tell us what got you originally interested in college radio. How did you first learn about college radio and get involved with it?
You know, when I was a student, we had a college radio station. I didn't apply by that time, but I went there many, many times. I love it. And then I started my internship in a commercial radio station. But I knew this environmental of college radio stations. Then, 5 years ago, where I work as a professor at Mackenzie University, we launched a college radio station online. And I was the first one to be there. We did the first speech with the dean of the university and the director of my department. And then we started the college radio. And my students, they do a lot of work as sound, like interview, news, sports. And then my students, in their homeworks like this, they started to bring these audios to the radio station. Then I started thinking, look, okay, but how is it gonna work? What can I do for this? So in the past 2 years, I started thinking, look, I'm going to talk about this. In Brazil, it's rare also. We have some people talking about, but I come from a private school, and they talk more about public schools, so it's kind of different. My study is also brand new in private schools, you know? And then I started. So what I have learned until now is there a lot of work to do. A lot.
I mean, it's interesting, and you touched on some of these points, but college radio is a great learning laboratory for students, where students can learn the technical skills of running a radio station, of operating the sound equipment and the microphones and all the transmitter and all of the equipment that it takes to run a radio station. But there's also a really important piece here in the U.S., and I'd like to hear maybe some of your thoughts on this, around community engagement and how radio that is non-commercial, which I think is an important aspect of college radio, is that it doesn't operate on a commercial model. So we don't take advertising dollars. We don't require sponsors to keep the station running. The university supports us. And so therefore, it's a public good, if you will, and it's something that serves the community so that listeners can listen to it and learn about things like social work and poverty and social programs, or they can listen to the station and learn about new music and hear, or they can learn about sporting events or, you know, scholarly work like your own. But there's a public engagement piece there about the radio station engaging with the larger community. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that.
In Brazil, I'm talking about Brazil right now. In Brazil, it's a little different. Our students, they don't run the station. This is the first one. University runs the station. It's different from here. But even though they can bring ideas, they can bring talk shows, they can bring other kind of shows to practice what they have learned or they want to do. We don't have sponsors also. We cannot do ads. That's the same. But community, I don't think they apply the Radio University. I'm going to tell why. I think in Brazil we are still looking only to the students. We don't see if the community member could also join the radio, you know? Here is very interesting, like Sir Walford, like Mr. Everyday, they are from they are community members here at WCDB. So this is something that I will try there. I would point out like something very interesting to do. So this is our differences, you know? Yeah, I think it's a very good place for you to learn about life, about your social skills, and also if you want to keep going on communications segment. I don't know if I answer your question.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think one of the things about our show particularly, we're a social work radio talk show. So when we're talking about public engagement, I mean, there's music shows on, there's sports shows, and every other thing on WCDB. We've been here for over 40 plus years, the station. But our show, we do have that aspect to create sort of a deeper connection with the local community and an appreciation for community issues. So we kind of use our show to help sort of say what's going on in the community, share resources about community partners. So a lot of our guests are members of community working at local nonprofits, and they're coming in telling about their resources and how they are available to community members and also the students here at the university. So it's a little bit, our show is a little different than maybe some of the other shows that are currently on the station. But that's the one thing about college radio is it can be diverse. No matter who is hosting the segment, we can have a lot of different types of topics and resources, whether it's entertainment, social work, political news, and bring that to the community as a resource.
Yeah, and I was talking with you guys off air that I think this show here, your show, is really interesting, diverse, as you said, Alisa, and I think it's something we could apply there. We can bring, like you said, community members, faculty members, students from the faculty social welfare, right? And we have a lot, because Mackenzie University is a university. We have a lot of courses there, a lot of situations we could apply and join to our programming schedule, right? I think that is something. But your show in particular, I think it gave me a lot of ideas. I thank you both for that.
Absolutely. So what has your experience been like here in Albany? I mean, how did you find Albany, of all places in the U.S., from Brazil? Yeah.
In fact, I visited UAlbany in 2008 when Mackenzie and UAlbany, they made an agreement about journalism course, something like this. I came here. I stayed in Albany like a week, I suppose. And then by that time, I visited the WCDB. So when I started thinking, look, I want to see what they are doing abroad, what is going on. And you know, in the States, here, the commercial radio started here, and the college radios also. And from what I'm reading and learning, college radios, they are prior to commercial radios. So everything started here. So I talked to my advisor there. Look, I need to go there and talk to people, see what they do there. Everything started there. That's why I came here. Then I remembered about WCDB. And then I looked on website. I started learning and more reading and listening. And then I talked to that professor by that time that hosted us here. And he is still here. It's Professor Bass from English department. Okay. And he is the one who is helping me to be here.
Great.
That's why. But it was really good and surprising coming here 11 years after, and the radio stations here, and here's kind of different. It's like a vintage radio station when you go inside of it. It's like you are walking like in the 70s, 80s. There is something very rare, maybe unique, maybe something very important here.
Maybe stuck in time a little bit.
Yeah. I have been to now at this point of my research, I have been visiting other college radio stations, and they don't look like this. They are all different. They are different. You are unique, but at this point you are unique in this vintage way of structure that you have here.
It's an important part of our campus. Truthfully, I see it as, and I'm the faculty advisor for the station too. So I, feel very close and connected to the radio station. But I think the existence and the survival of WCDB is really critical to UAlbany. It's an important part of the university. It's an important part of the student life. It's an important part of the community. And so the fact that it's been here 40 plus years is really, we think, something we're proud of and something that's really remarkable and something that we hope continues.
Yeah, and now, for instance, they are going to have live bands this weekend. I'm going to come here to see. And I think the radio station now is very alive. Is that? It's posting, everything is happening. And if I could point something, I would say that what I missed was the news department, because we work like this in Brazil. And we'd like to have a news department here. Yeah. When I ask the students, why don't you have a news department here? They always respond to me like this, we don't want to do this because it's like a politics, something like this. But I pointed then, look, okay, but could you also talk about physics with the faculty members, about other fundraising they are doing, about the beginning of the semester? You could have a lot of issues, and you have the Great Danes, football and basketball. Right. You could talk to these guys, bring them here. Yeah. So I just pointed then that news doesn't need necessarily be connected to politics. Right. You can talk about something else, and that is okay. Maybe they'll give a shot about this. I don't know.
And I think it really depends on who would be the host. I think in the past there's been shows that talked about politics that had more of a news based. I was actually familiar with a few of those. And I really think it depends. There wouldn't be a social work show or show talking about resources and nonprofits if it wasn't for Eric and I co-hosting this. So it really depends on the student base. Yeah. Since we are a student-run radio station, who would be willing to do that, and if they can bring that and have a time. So, hopefully that will be something that could be added. So if anyone out there is interested in doing a news show, and wants to be on WCDB, any students, I think they could.
I think you're right, Alyssa. I think that's one of the interesting pieces that may be different from Brazil, is that here in the U.S., because most college radio is student-run, it's really dependent on the particular students at any given time. And if students here are more interested in music, they do music. And if they're more interested in sports, it veers towards sports. And so it has an ebb and a flow to to it, I think. But I think your point is really well taken. I also wondered, though, listening to you talk, if one of the possible explanations, theories, might be that that people today get their news from such a different variety of sources. In the past, historically in the U.S., radio has been really critical for news. Radio used to be, pre-television, radio was how citizens in the U.S. got their news, or through the newspaper. Both of those media have been, we've been hearing about the dying of print journalism and the dying of radio journalism, and there's different thoughts on whether or not that's accurate, but
I would say they are transforming,
not dying. Right. But a lot of people get their news from Twitter, they get their news from Facebook,
Yes.
they get their news from various websites, and maybe are less likely to look to the radio for news. So I'm curious to hear you talk about that. Yeah.
That's why maybe news here could be only about the campus life. So about Great Danes, where can I read about that? Where can I listen about that? How can I talk to the players? Where? Here.
Yeah.
It could be a possibility. Like, as I said, if there is once a month we have here at Campus Center in the basement, we have a reunion like Português com café, means Portuguese with coffee. Students here at SUNY, they are learning Portuguese, and once a month they all get together to speak Portuguese together.
Great.
And they invite Brazilian people to be there. The professor is Brazilian and she works here. I went there. So it could be something else, Why? So I think there is a lot of things happening here on the campus. This news that I'm talking about, I think it could cover campus life.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So tell us, as we wind down this conversation, tell us how much longer you'll be here and what the next step is for your project.
Unfortunately, not so much. I'm leaving December. I could stay only for like 90 days in a row, like 100 days in a row. I have to be back. But I have a lot of material. I have a lot of to write about. And maybe in the future, when you are going to celebrate the 45th anniversary,
45th,
maybe I'll be here to join with you. We never know.
So.
We never know.
Yeah.
And of course, everything I'm going to publish about WCDB and about the other radio stations, I will publish also in English for you guys to read, and we can talk about.
Great.
That's something in the future.
I just think this is a really awesome dissertation topic. I'm sorry. I just think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating topic because I don't really think there's been too much on really recently the importance of college radio. So the fact that you're doing this and you're touring, you're going to all different radio stations. I mean, you said there's Brockport, and you're going all different parts of the state.
I'm going also to Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
I'm going also to California. I'm going to see 2 different radio stations there in the future, in the next further days.
I mean, this is really exciting, and I'm really interested to read. Read the final product, because there hasn't, at least not to my knowledge, there hasn't been too much of a focus on the importance of college radio and somebody really traveling back and forth to different stations and comparing. And you're even on air today, so this is something that I'm really interested to see the final result.
I came here thinking that I would be one more writing about college radio stations, and then I discovered that I must be nowadays the one who is writing about college radio stations.
Right.
So it was a surprise for me.
You have to create that knowledge.
Yeah.
I
can do everything I can help to college radio stations. I love them that much. And to the end, my final advice, I would say, I think every radio station, commercial or no commercial, they have a social function. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
So I think radio must be always close to people. So radio must be always doing something for the community, students, city, town, state, That's why I love radio, and I think this is going to keep on this way. That's why I told you your show gave me a lot of ideas what we can do there, because we want to do to our community, So that's why I think radio is so important.
So we'll have to get down to Brazil and visit your station and have some international
we can set that
collaboration
in
there.
the future. Sure.
So if you've just tuned in, you're listening to the Social Workers Live Radio Talk Show. I'm Eric Hardiman here with Alyssa Lotmore, as usual. And we have with us, we've just wrapped up a conversation with Lenize Villaca Cardoso, who is here from Mackenzie University, and I got the pronunciation right.
Totally.
Who's a graduate student and faculty member in journalism at the Mackenzie University in Sao Paolo, Brazil. And she's here as a visiting scholar at the University at Albany, studying college radio. And so it's been a wonderful conversation. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. As I said before, it's an honor for me, and maybe I can spread my passion for radio for everybody. Who knows?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, like I said, before we end, I'll just say that we had taken a little selfie beforehand, and I had posted it, and I've already gotten some replies. It says, "I love this topic, the culture and history of college radio. I confess, I would love to read this about your dissertation." So there's already an interest in the 5 minutes since I posted that. So very exciting for not just us, but for others already.
The magic of social media. So on that topic, Alyssa, can you remind listeners where they can find us on social media?
Yes, we're the Twitter handle at Social Workers FM. So Social Workers FM, and we are also all our podcasts can be found on iTunes, and you can find us on the Social Workers Radio Talk Show.simplecast.fm.
And the good news is the show is not over today. We're going to take about a 5-minute break here, and then we will be back with a totally different topic. We're going to talk about veterans here at the University at Albany, and we'll have with us in the studio graduate student Amanda Madison. And so we're excited to have Amanda with us here in a few minutes. I believe she's out in the lounge getting ready to enter the studio, and so stay tuned for another interview here on the Social Workers in about 5 minutes. You're listening to WCDB Albany.
You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.